Your obsession with understanding everything isn't curiosity. It's control disguised as safety. Let that linger. We think we need all of the answers before we can move forward. But what we really want is certainty. And certainty, my friends, is the enemy of faith. Welcome back to Discipline and Desire. I am Lorian Hassan, and today we are diving deep into a question that will follow you through every stage of your life. Who can you trust? Because everything, your faith, your relationships, your business, your art, your peace, all of it rests on trust. And yet, trust is the first thing we break when fear walks in. Before we continue, let's ensure that we are present. Let's do our breath work. For my new listeners, we're going to do 4 cycles. We're going to inhale for 4 seconds. We're going to hold our breath for 4 seconds. And then we're going to exhale for 6. Let's begin. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. It's encouraged that you inhale through your nose and you exhale through your mouth. Second round, inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Next 2 rounds, do on your own. All right. I needed that. Segment 1. Trusting God, or whatever you call the divine. Let's start at the top. Trusting God. Now, please understand, I am not here to define God for you. You might call it spirit, source, the universe, the divine, the Most High, ... Whatever you name it, it's the same still voice that whispers direction when logic runs out of language. The obsession to understand everything is really the need to control everything. We tell ourselves, I just need clarity. No, you just need comfort before obedience. If you could comprehend everything, you wouldn't need God. You'd be God. Faith exists in the space between what you know and what you trust. For those that are familiar with the Bible and Christianity, let's think back to Adam and Eve. They didn't sin because they were evil. They sinned because they wanted certainty. They wanted divine perspective without divine accountability. That same temptation still lives in us. The urge to understand everything before we obey. But the most spiritually mature people I know, they're comfortable with mystery. They don't need every question answered before they move. They trust God's character more than their need to comprehend God's methods. So maybe it's time to stop demanding blueprints and start trusting the builder. And this is when we have the opportunity to reflect, to think of our prayers, to think of our dreams that we've had since we were a child. And if we allow ourselves to zoom in, we're able to realize that God has always been there for us. I can speak for myself. Everything that I ever said that I wanted and that I would accomplish, I have. Sometimes as soon as I say it. But I too have had moments, and I'm still working through this, to where I have to stop demanding blueprints from God and just trust that God has always had my back, for my God is good. Self-trust, the quiet foundation. You can't trust God if you don't trust yourself. I just had this amazing conversation with my sister today, and we were discussing how many times we create distrust within ourselves. And we do this by betraying ourselves. And isn't it true? You can't trust yourself if you keep betraying yourself. Example, every time you say yes when your gut screams no, you lose a little self-respect. Every time you stay in something that dishonors your spirit, you teach your body that your words mean nothing. That's self-betrayal. And it's the silent killer of confidence. When you break your own trust, your intuition starts to dim. And suddenly, you're out here begging other people to validate what your spirit already told you. Ever ignored your intuition so often that even your intuition stopped reaching out? Like, new number, who's this? Because that intuition is our superpower. It's our senses, our spidey senses. But if we keep ignoring it, eventually, it's going to ignore us. Now, trusting yourself doesn't mean that you'll always be right. It means you'll always be honest. And honesty is the birthplace of alignment. Because your intuition isn't random. It's divine transmission. It's God whispering in your own voice what it is that you need to know. So build that self-trust. Build that quiet foundation. Because as we know with all buildings, if the foundation is not solid, if the foundation is not intact, whatever gets built on that foundation will eventually have issues, if not crumble. Now, how does trust correlate with human relationships? Trust as the currency of love. Love. Now let's bring it down to the human level. Relationships. Family, partners, lovers, colleagues, the whole spectrum. Love without trust is performance. Partnership without trust is management. Faith without trust is religion. And most of us, we're out here managing people, not trusting them. Let that sit. We manage our partners by pretending to be who we think they need. We manage our co-workers by overworking for validation. We manage our families by playing roles we've outgrown. That's not love. That is survival. And here's the truth. Attachment is often the shadow of mistrust. We cling when we don't believe. We control when we can't surrender. We attach to the fantasy because we don't trust reality to hold us. But detachment, healthy detachment, that's not coldness. That's clarity. It's allowing love to breathe without trying to cage it. Sometimes trust doesn't mean holding tighter. It means loosening your grip. And there are many reasons as to why some of us have developed these attachment styles, have developed these managing styles. For anyone that's in a leadership position, many times at work they want to tell you, especially in corporate, that at work that's your family. And in some ways it could be. But they're not your family in the sense of what family is and what it could be. But sometimes we get that confused. Because if you're in a leadership or in a management position, you understand your purpose. You understand the hierarchy. You understand what is needed from your team. You have a goal, quarterly goals, etc. And sometimes it's hard to step out of that once we return to our homes, if we have families. And we may find ourselves managing our households, which, don't get me wrong, a household needs to be managed. But the management cannot supersede love. And it cannot supersede trust. Love without trust is performance. And eventually the performer will get tired. Or eventually the audience will be tired of the same performance. How can we make the practical work of building trust real? Because philosophy without practice is just performance. So here's some ways that we can rebuild trust if it's been lost, or if it's been broken, if it's been unattended to, in real human ways. Let's start with corporate, since we were just talking about that lifestyle. incorporate some practical ways to rebuild trust. One can be consistent more than charismatic. One can delegate without micromanaging. And if you mess up, own it early. What about in the family structure? One can listen to understand, not to reply. Practice repair, not retreat. Here's a good one. Stop worshiping old dysfunction just because it's familiar. If you want new, one needs to do new. How about in intimacy? Be honest early, even when it might cost you. Let that sit. Protect privacy like a covenant. Let that sit. Do not confuse passion with permission. Now, we started saying that one has to love oneself. One has to have trust within oneself before one can begin exercising trust with others. So, what are some practical ways that we can rebuild trust within our self relationship? One way, keep promises to yourself. If you say you're going to do something, do it to the end. For those that follow me on social media know, after almost 15, 20 years, I finally finished my P90X workout. Meaning I did 90 straight days. Even on my vacation and on my cruise, I did not miss a day. And it felt so good to finally complete that workout. And then the trade-off to all that, the bonus is my body is amazing. But now I have such a solid foundation. Now I'm able to build another workout for myself and just build off of this momentum. But it felt good because I too have started many things and didn't finish. Gave myself many promises. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to stop doing this tomorrow. 5 years later. Yeah, it happens. Life be life. But a good way to rebuild our trust within ourselves, keep the promises you made to yourself. Another practical way to rebuild trust in your self relationship, rest when your body asks. Let that sit. And rest is not sleep, folks. When you sleep, you're unconscious. And your body's doing a lot of things depending on what you did before you entered into rest or into sleep. Rest is when your body is at rest, at peace. Your mind is at peace. That's where the breath work comes in. That's where meditation comes in. For some, that's where working out comes in. But yes, rest when your body asks. And then reflect daily, even if it's just 5 minutes. Again, for those that follow me, you'll see on my Tuesday schedules, I have my form of reflection. I do this practice with my daughters and certain people that are close in my inner circle. And in my memoir, I break it down a little bit more as to how I developed that and just how it can be used. But yes, reflect daily, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Trust doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. Next segment, faith, mystery, and the beauty of not knowing. You don't need to understand everything to move forward. You don't need the roadmap. just the next step. Faith isn't a full GPS route. It's a flashlight that shows just enough of the path to keep walking. Going back to a foundation that I have, the Bible and Christianity, Abraham didn't know how descendants would come from a barren womb. Moses didn't know how a man with a stutter could lead nations. Mary didn't know how a virgin could birth the Messiah. None of them knew. But all of them did what? They moved. They took a step and then another. Because trust doesn't require proof. It requires relationship. God's not asking for your understanding. God is asking for your trust. And the same goes for every relationship in your life, with others and with yourself. Let that breathe. Stop asking for a map. Start walking with faith. Stop demanding explanations. Start accepting companionship. The need for control disguised as the need for understanding will keep you stuck in spiritual adolescence. Oh, I know this well. Mature faith says, I don't understand, but I trust you. Immature faith says, I won't move until I do. I'll be real. As I've mentioned already, I've lived both. I've been the man who waited for clarity before obedience. And I've been the one who overthought love. I've been the one who analyzed purpose. And I've been the one who demanded certainty before peace. But what I've learned is that God's silence isn't absence, it's invitation. And maybe what feels like unanswered prayer is really an unanswered question of trust. You don't need to figure it all out. You just need to take the step, the next faithful step. Trust God. Trust yourself. And trust that the right people will meet you at the intersection of both. Until the next time, keep reflecting, keep trusting, and as always, lead with discipline and desire. I appreciate your time. If you like what you heard, please let me know. Give me comments, give me likes, share with your peers, your family members, your co-workers. And also, let me know how this resonated. Let me know how your journey goes from here. Your journey in trusting yourself more. Your journey in increasing the relationship with yourself and thus with others. I appreciate your time and your energy. Till the next time. Peace.